Okay, today we're going to show you how to store your shade leaf and your Fronto leaf properly. Most of you guys that buy wholesale are probably going to find it coming in this form. This is a bundle, it's about 1 pound. And it's pretty easy to store. You'll be getting it, in a package just like this. You don't have to worry about being shy because as long as you let it dry out before you put it back inside the bag, you don't really have to worry about getting the thing too wet. However, if you put it right back in the bag after spraying it down like this before letting it air dry a little bit, if you keep it sealed for too long, it can start to grow mold, although that's very rare. But for most of you guys, the small guys, are going to be consuming this one leaf at a time. A more practical way for us to demonstrate the way to care and store for these things would be just to show you with an individual leaf. This is a shade leaf. And here's a Fronto leaf, both of which are very dry. As you can see, it's very dry and brittle here. It just crumbles into paper. Now we're just going to spray these two things down. These same leaves I'm going to bring back in 5-10 minutes or so. Put them off to the side. I'm going to get 2 more fresh ones. Here's a fresher Fronto leaf. As you can see, this one's been sprayed down a little bit more. It's probably the optimal moisture for my personal preference. As you can see, you can hear it's a little bit papery, but it's still handleable. And I think that's premium for smoking, because if you get it too wet and then you try and smoke with it right afterwards, it's going to go out and you're going to have to find that you're going to have to keep using a lighter to relight it. So I think this is perfect, rolling conditions right here. You can handle it, you can spread it out, but it's not sopping wet. That's the Fronto leaf. This is the shade leaf, a little bit smaller, a little bit more mild. And as you can see, it's like a little bit, you can hear it's a little crunchy at the top, but it's still, you're able to open the entire leaf up, spread it out, and you can kind of, handle it without worrying about ripping or tearing or anything like that. Now you can just, go ahead and spray these things down just a little bit. Just give them a couple of quick sprays. And as long as you don't see beads of water, if you can see these little pools of water collecting in the crevices, that's what you don't want to put the thing back in the bag with. You want to kind of let it, dry out a little bit. Don't be shy about kind of dabbing it with a paper towel or something like that before you want to put it back inside. You can roll it, you can fold it now. The thing is ready to go. You can fit it right inside your pocket. You can bring it on the move. Very easy to handle. Okay, and as you can see, with just a small Ziploc bag, it's very, very easy for travel use. You can bring this with you almost everywhere you go. And as long as you keep these things moist, you really don't have to worry about them getting crushed in your pocket. You can keep it inside a bag with a Ziploc seal on top. And that's pretty much, the very ideal way to, take these things on the road with you or something like that. If you're just going, out for the night or something like that, and you wanted to bring a leaf or two with you, and you don't want to carry one of these gigantic bundles with you, this seems to be a little bit more practical. You really can just roll these guys and fold them right up. As you can see, it fits right inside your pocket. Boom. Okay, now before we leave, I wanted to bring back our friends from the beginning of the video. Remember these buddies? These guys were dry as a bone when we first started out. And now, less than 10 minutes later, the parts that I did spray down are very handleable. And as you can see, the stuff that didn't get wet, still dry and crunchy. However, the stuff that, I did moisten and spray down, you can spread the thing all the way out now. And you can almost, just to give you guys an example, as long as you guys dab this with a little paper towel again, so it's not soaking wet, this stuff is ready to use right now. In theory, you can kind of just tear out your own little wrap, and it's ready for use. Just a little bit of cropping. You know, you can kind of, you know, if you were to trim that with scissors or something like that, but just for an example, that's ready to use. Here's the Fronto one. Still crunchy down here. Look at that. That was the part that was untouched. I did not moisten that part of the leaf. Here's the top of the leaf right now. You can see the beads of water still on it. You know, as long as you go and dab that stuff before you go and roll your own, this stuff is pretty much ready to go. Just look at how fresh that looks right there. That's nice. That's a nice wrap. Look at that. Ready to roll. Let's trim her down just a little bit here. It's a little bit more of a practical size. But yeah, you know, that's off the same leaves that we saw in the beginning of the video that were like parchment paper. And now look at the tops of them. You can totally unroll this. Less than 10 minutes later. Very easy to store, very easy to use. If it dries out, you can get it wet again. If it gets too wet, you can just let it sit before you put it back so it doesn't grow mold. I would compare these things to a sponge. You know, a sponge, you can get wet and use it and let it dry out, and then before you need to go use it again, you just get it wet again. It's very simple and practical to store it. You know, you can put it inside just about any bag here. Just roll it up fine. Make sure that no air can really get to it, you know. You put it in that. You can use a Ziploc. You don't have to. I would recommend that you do pat these things down before you seal them up for long-term storage. I personally will take one individual leaf off of a bundle and work off just that leaf and keep the bundle stored for long-term stuff. You know, it's kind of more sealed permanently. And I like to keep that a little bit drier than the leaf that I'm using for everyday use. The everyday leaf that I have, you know, the individual leaf that I'm working with that day, you know, I will keep a little bit more moist than all the rest of the leaves in the bundle that I have stored. But again, you know, you really don't have to worry about letting these things dry out. If they dry out, you can come back to it a few months later and just spray the whole thing down. You don't have to worry about being shy. If you have to soak the thing, you have to soak the thing before you can start to handle the thing and open the bundle up. But like I said, there's no such thing as really getting these things too wet. As long as you let them dry out a little bit before you put them back in the bag. And that's it, pretty much. I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for your time, and thank you for visiting Whole Leaf.